Alright, guys, and we are live with the first episode of The Witching Hour. So, we figured what we'll do first. We'll tell a few stories from No Sleep, from Reddit. So, give me just a moment, please. Alright, so this first one is called Never Play with a Ouija Board by Celluloid Addiction. This story happened in October of 2004, back when I was still a third year high school student. My friends and I stuck around the school late at night after our annual Halloween party. We had agreed to try my fiance's Ouija board. It wasn't the brightest ideal, but we needed a thrill. We found a nice spot under a huge narrow tree and proceeded with our half-assed ritual. There were 5 of us, 2 boys and 3 girls. We were all expecting some kind of paranormal contact. Rumors had it our school was haunted, but we've never really experienced anything firsthand, and it was Halloween when all the spirits come out to play. We all wanted to get spooked. Also, we've never seen a Ouija board firsthand, so we were pretty excited. Our school was an old Spanish colonial house, built in the 1800s, when the old Spaniards still occupied the Philippines. We were in a section of the school that does not get used often. I swear, guys, I've read before. People only go there when they needed to use the restroom, store equipment on one of the sheds, or make out with their boyfriends or girlfriends. We sat down in the middle of an open space with only an exposed bare bulb nearby illuminating the surroundings. We were all having a laugh, scaring each other with what-if scenarios. It was your typical dumb kids, dumb things. My friends who brought the Ouija board proceeded to place it in the middle of our circle. If I remember correctly, it was the glow-in-the-dark version, which we found hilarious, but it gave us the ability to see what was written in the dark. Not knowing what to do and going after what we've seen in the movies, we all proceeded to place our index finger on top of the planchette. We sat there looking at each other until one of us said, "What's next?" We didn't know if there was a proper way to start the ritual, plus the board didn't come with instructions, so we decided to just throw in a question. "Is anyone there?" I called out into the darkness. "If there are spirits living here, please talk to us," one of the girls joined in. We clearly had no idea what we were doing. Still, nothing. Not even the slightest bit of wind. One of my friends jerked the planchette, and the girl who brought the Ouija board screamed, breaking the silence. We all laughed at how ridiculous it was. After a bit of joking around, we decided to give it another go. We all placed our index fingers on the planchette once more and asked if there was anyone there. We'd like to make contact. "Don't break the circle," one of my friends said jokingly. "Shut up," I whispered. We were just about ready to give up when the wind started to pick up. The stillness broke and the darkness around us seemed to move. Just a coincidence, we thought. "Okay, don't break the circle," I yelled out. "Is anyone there?" I was excited. It was like a scene from a movie with dirt and dead leaves swirling around us. "Guys, I'm scared," my friend sitting next to me said. "My mom warned me about playing with forces that we don't know." "Did you die here? Were you killed during the war? Are you the headless priest that roams these halls? Do you know Jose Rizal, our national hero? Are you a hottie?" My friend giggled. At this point, we were all throwing random stupid questions. Nothing. "This is bullshit. I don't want to do this anymore," my friend said, exasperated. We were all thinking the same. Just then, a group of dogs from the neighborhood house started barking at us through the chain-link fence. These 6 dogs were growling and showing teeth. We all screamed and without finishing the ritual, bolted out right out of there. One of the girls told us about a weird experience she had. Just a second. One of the girls told us about a weird experience that she had the night after playing with the Ouija board. She had gotten home late after hanging out with her friends from the neighborhood when she realized that she forgot the keys to her house. So she called her brother up, who was then still sharing a room with her, and what he said crept the hell out of her. He swore she was already home. He claimed to have seen her walk in a while ago, and that she looked very tired and saw her to bed. Creepy, but no need to freak ourselves out, was all we thought. Besides, her brother must have been just tired and seeing things. But then my other friend started telling us about her encounter that she had that Halloween night. She was going up to her room when the lights started flickering as she was ascending the staircase. Your typical horror movie visuals, shrug it off to faulty wiring. But just then she saw the door to her room open and a dark figure stepped out and stood atop the staircase. She couldn't make out the entity's face, but she recounted that she couldn't move and felt utter dread as the figure started down at her. "No way," my best friend who just joined in the conversation said in disbelief. "Something happened to me as well." He recalled that he was sleeping one night when he woke up feeling really uncomfortable. He described his visions as having a TV-like static and feeling of heaviness surrounding him. He looked around the room. That's when he saw a bloody, charred face with piercing red eyes grinning at him through the window. I couldn't believe what I was hearing because I had an almost run-in with death that night. After the ritual, I was sleeping in our sedan on the way home after fooling around with the Ouija board, when I felt the car jerk. I woke up instantly looking out the window. I found out that we'd been hit by a huge oil tanker. I panicked and leapt out of the car. Luckily, my mom and I survived the crash, since the front of the car was totally wrecked. I still don't have an explanation why these things happened to us, but thank God nothing happened after that. I never played or gotten near a Ouija board ever since. Thoughts?
That's why I don't mess with Ouija boards.
Yeah.
Them things are too dangerous.
We used to have a Ouija board.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Okay. When we first got married, my father-in-law had this Ouija board.
Yeah.
And we was, well, I asked him to get it out of the house because I grew up with like a superstitious mom who, she's scared to death, but she loves horror stuff as well. And, well, I take the things like she does. I take all what, Ouija boards are bad luck. It's bad voodoo. It's stuff that you don't need to mess with.
Yeah.
And we first got married, and he decided, after I asked him to take it out of the house, he played a prank on me, and no, it was you that done it, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it wasn't him. Yeah. He told me he would take it out.
Yeah.
And my husband decided to play a prank on me and move it and place it somewhere like on Yes or something. He placed it somewhere.
You were outside doing something.
I think I was helping your mom do something, and
I came in the house, and because I was supposed to take the Ouija board out to the building. Yeah, she asked me to take it out. So instead of taking it out, I took the box out, but I left the actual Ouija board and the planchette in here, in our room, and I set it on our bed and placed the planchette onto or something.
He put it on something, and
Which
scared
I get it.
me
Yeah,
to
that's
death.
Extremely irresponsible of me.
But no, my father-in-law, yeah, that's right. It was him that played the prank on me, but my father-in-law, he agreed too, because he's like that also, and it's just, that stuff's so scary. It's just something you don't mess with.
I agree.
Because you don't know what's going to happen.
I agree. It's not something that you should play with.
It's bad luck. It's just
even
bad.
if you don't believe in those kind of things, yeah, I agree. It's not something that you should play with, just because, you never know.
You never know.
You never know what's going to happen. Before we, because my father, he's always been superstitious, and I come from a very religious family, And his mother was very religious, and he's kind of religious. I'm not very religious, but he's kind of religious. So I did not expect him to walk in the house with a Ouija board
Yeah.
and like, hey, let's play.
No,
So-
let's not. But no, they got rid of it.
but he did though. That was the whole thing. That was before we got together.
I know, but it was
he,
still here when I
yeah.
first got married to you.
Yeah, he brought it in the house, and I think the electricity was out. Like we had bad storms and shit, so the electricity went out, and he just brought in a Ouija board, and we sat
my
there for
God.
hours trying to connect with something.
That's just creepy.
We never did. I fucked with him on it. You know, I made it seem like, which once again, that's very irresponsible.
Yeah.
No, I was young. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah, because you never know what's going to happen.
True. But let's see here. We will go on to the next one. Give me just a moment, please. Just a minute. So yeah, guys, we figure what we'll do is we'll read a few of these no sleeps, and then we'll go on to something else.
Yeah.
We'll probably go on to something else. So give me just a moment. Alright, so the next one is called Grandma's Light is Always On.
Oh, that sounds creepy already.
Yeah. And it's by Saint Entropy. Entropy. I don't know, man. I know the word. Can't say the word. Never been able to. Anyways, alright, so here we go. In one corner of my grandma's living room stood a lamp that was almost never turned on. She would change the bulb every week like clockwork, waiting until the afternoon sunlight poured through the windows and filled the room. Even then she hurried, holding her breath until the deed was done and the lamp was back on. I would ask her about it once in a while. Each time she would smile softly, tussle my hair, and promptly change the subject. I didn't learn the truth until I was 13, the first time I turned off the lamp. I just wanted to see what would happen. Grandma screamed when she walked into the darkened living room, a plate of cookies falling from her hand and crashing to the floor. I could hear her praying underneath her breath as she raced to turn the light back on. Tears were shining in her eyes when she turned to me, her lips pressed thin. Without warning, she slapped me hard across the face. Grandma never had so much as raised her voice to me before, and I was shocked. I was so shocked I cried. She cried enough. I was too shocked to cry. My bad. She cried enough for the both of us, gathering me up in her arms and begging for my forgiveness. With her hand buried in my shoulder, she finally told me about the lamp. It was a ghost light, she said. Ever since she and my grandpa had bought the house, back when they first arrived in America, the spirits of the dead had plagued her. Only when her burden threatened to drive her mad did she ask Grandpa for help. She had expected him to laugh at her, but he had surpassed her by nodding gravely. It was he who had first lit the ghost light, and as long as that beacon burned through the darkness, she had never seen another spirit. I stopped visiting my grandma after that. It started gradually at first, missing a day here and there, but by the time I received news of her death, I hadn't seen her in over 10 years. As her only living relative, I shouldn't have been surprised when I inherited her house. Yet as I sat in the lawyer's office, listening to him and her read her will, I was speechless. I had a difficult time paying attention after that, absorbed as I was with the business of remembering. So much love had filled those walls, so many happy memories. As I thought of my tiny, sterile apartment in the city, I quickly made my decision. I was almost overwhelmed by emotion as I walked through the front door. Everything looked exactly as I remembered it from my childhood. Houseplants still cluttered the window sills, decorative bird plates still hung on the walls, and the ghost light still burned in the living room. Seeing the old lamp sent a chill down my spine. I froze in my tracks, the smile fading from my lips, and I couldn't help but think of the night Grandma had slapped me so many years ago. I had told my mother about the ghost light the next day, but she had dismissed it as a simple old-world superstition. It was the same way when she was growing up, she told me. and I shouldn't worry about it. Still, I couldn't shake the conviction that I had finally seen the true depths of my grandma's lunacy. I ran my fingers through the fringe of the lampshade, as I thought, a bloom of sadness darkening my nostalgia. Sighing heavily, I turned the ghost light off with a decisive click. Something woke me later that night. I lay in bed listening to the darkness until I heard scratching coming from the living room. Rats were the last thing that I wanted to deal with at the moment, and I rolled over with a groan, determined to ignore it until the next morning. The scratching continued intermittently, constantly jerking me from the edge of sleep. I had finally had enough. I threw the blankets off of me and stormed out into the hall. Moonlight flooded the front of the house, and I didn't bother turning on lights as I made my way to the living room. I knew every inch of the house, even after so many years, and I moved confidently through the dim light. I was furious at having been woken from a dead sleep, and my anger ill-prepared me for what I found. An elderly woman was crouched in the corner, her gaunt back to me. She was scratching at the floor where the walls met, stopping every few minutes to cock her head. A gnarl of dread unfurled in the pit of my stomach. I had no idea how this woman had gotten into my house, and though it was obvious she needed help, it took me some time to summon the courage to approach her. My hand shook as I reached out to gently squeeze her shoulder. I meant to ask where she lived, who her caretaker was, but the words were driven from my mind when she turned and I saw her face. Her eyes solid black, bottomless pits that didn't reflect the moonlight. Her jaw hung impossibly open, unhinged, and the dark tunnel of her mouth spiraled down into her throat. I had a moment to realize who she was, to recognize the familiar map of her wrinkles in her face, the curls of her wispy hair. Then my grandmother screamed. I shrieked, stumbling backwards away from the nightmare in the corner. My arms flailed in the air, reaching for the nearest lamp, and my hands touched the ghost light. I yanked the chain, filling the room with light, and she was gone. I never turned the ghost light off after that. After letting the bulb burn out one evening, I began changing it every week, just as Grandma had. Eventually I got married, and luckily for me, my wife was tolerant of the strange fixation on the lamp. The light continued to burn, and I lived my life happily. But my grandson has been asking about the ghost light lately. Each time he asks, I smile softly, tussle his hair, and promptly change the subject. For some reason, I can't bring myself to tell him the truth. I think about how I was pulled away from my grandmother, how I thought her crazy, and how I kept my mouth shut. I worry, though. I know I won't be around forever, just as I know he will eventually turn off the ghost light. I worry that he might see me then, twisted and wrong, scratching in the corner. That was a good one.
That was a real good one.
That was.
No. That is scary.
Did your family have any crazy superstitions like that? Anyone?
No. Did any of yours?
No. My family never really talked much about ghosts.
I don't think mine did either.
Besides my cousin, which he's more of a friend than a cousin. He kind of had a few ghost stories.
Yeah. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah, he did. He had some good ones.
But as far as like actual like warding rituals and shit like that,
no.
No, my family never had anything like that.
Mine never did either.
Okay. So let us know if your guys' families have any crazy rituals or anything like that kind of ward off the evil spirits.
Yeah.
Because I do find that extremely interesting. It's just, I was never exposed to anything like that as a child.
Me neither.
All right, just a minute. All right, so let's get this next one up. Just a second, guys.
What's the next one?
The next one's a good one. Actually, I don't know. I've actually not read any of these. I just
It's a good one. I ain't read it, but it's good.
yeah. I just looked up some that had good
Titles,
had good titles and also had good
feedback.
feedback. Yeah, people said that they were extremely scary, and so yeah. Just a moment, please.
That music, man, is just, it's vibing.
It is, man. That music is kicking. I like it. All right.
Making it even more spooky.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, man, this next one's a long one.
Okay.
All right, so this is called, I guess it's called The Grim Reaper's Scythe by Tobias Wade. So it says the Grim Reaper's Scythe isn't to harvest you, it's to protect you from something on your journey.
Where are we going? That's my question.
Going to hell. Alright. There is no fear as potent as the fear of the unknown. No monstrous visage discovered yet has been as terrifying as the infinite potential for horror which exists before the mask is removed. This is why we as humans and our naive misunderstanding of the universal order are gripped by the mortal fear of death. We think it's the final frontier, the greatest imaginable unknown from whose... That's a big word. Penumbral. From whose penumbral shores no traveler may return. And so we cling desperately on to even the most dreary and anguished lives, suffering any known evil over our release into the beyond. But death is not to be feared because death is very well understood. We have witnessed it, caused it, measured, and recorded it to the last dying spasm of the neuronal flickering. Even as I lay dying, it seemed silly to me that I should be afraid of the emptiness which reason promised to expect. While I was alive, I wouldn't experience death, so there was no reason to be afraid now. When I was dead, I wouldn't be capable of experiencing anything, so fear still had no cause. That thought brought me great comfort as I felt the last erratic struggle from my heart against the inevitable conclusion that I approached. It wasn't until I was finally drifting off to sleep that a final intrusive doubt bubbled in my brain. What if it isn't death, which is to be feared? What is it? What if it's what lies beyond? And so troubled did I slip beyond mortal understanding, stepping into a world as far forsaken by reason as I was now from life. I was still in a hospital room, but the bustle of nurses and beeping machines lost their opacity, as though I was mired in swiftly descending dusk. It seemed as though every sound was an echo. What it once was an echo of what it once was. Every sight a reflection, with each passing moment, the world was becoming less real. But all that sight and sound, all that being, it wasn't simply disappearing, it was transforming into a figure beside me. The less real my room became, the more real the figure was, until presently it existed in such sharp actuality that nothing beside it seemed real at all. His cloak was black. Not the color black, but its essence. It was as though seeing a tiger after a lifetime of looking at a child's crude drawing and thinking that's all a tiger was. Reality flowed around his scythe like a brush through watercolors, and I could see each elementary particle and time itself sunder across its blade. Surely this, I thought, this is why we're taught without words to fear death. I clutched at my hospital blanket to cower from the intensity of the Reaper's presence. But the once soft cotton flowed like translucent mist through my hands. I knew in that moment that nothing could hide me from the specter's grasp, for he was the only real thing in this world. "You're late." They weren't words. My head ached from the strain of his knowledge, as my latentness was burned into my awareness, imparted like an inescapable law of physics, as unequivocal as gravity. We don't have time for the usual speech. Hurry now. I felt myself swept up around him like dirt in a hurricane. Before I knew what was happening, we were outside the hospital, moving at such a frenzied pace that the world around me blurred into a dizzying tunnel of flashing light. If you're lucky, it will have gotten bored of waiting for you. I had too many questions, all fighting for attention in the forefront of my brain without any of them making their way out. You're quiet. I admire that. Usually people ask too much. What's the point? I asked. My voice fell flat and... Just a second. Sorry. What's the point? I asked. My voice felt flat and dead compared to his overwhelming substance. How can I try to comprehend something so beyond mortal knowledge? You can't, but it's still human to ask. We weren't slowing. If anything, our pace was increasing. I wasn't running or flying or anything of that nature. It was more like the rest of the world was moving around us while we stood still. A vague darkness and heavy damp smell made me guess that we'd gone underground, but I couldn't say for sure. One question then, I asked. What else is here besides you? And that is why questions are pointless. Death is not a place or a person. It's all the same. It's all there is. Troubling thought, but made more so by the growing howl, which began reverberating the rocks around me. We still seemed to be descending into the earth, and the air was growing warmer and denser now. The sound continued to mount as though the world itself was suffering. Then what is it? What I'm here to protect you from. The rocks split from a flash of his scythe, and the ground opened further into a sprawling cavern dominated by a subterranean lake. But I thought you said you were all there is. No. I said death was all there is. We weren't moving any longer. Light glinted off the scythe from some unseen source and streamed into the lake like a tributary. Once inside, the light didn't reflect or dissipate, but swirled and danced like luminescent oil. I thought you were death. Death is not a person. The light was taking a life of its own inside the water. The still surface began to churn with the enigmatic energy. It took my scattered mind a long while to realize that I was the energy flowing into the lake. I still felt tangled up with the figure, but now we existed as a beam of light boiling into the water. I knew I wouldn't understand, but that didn't stop me from feeling frustrated. If death is all there is, then what is it? What was waiting for me? The water pressed in around me and I couldn't speak, although I could still draw a breath somehow. It is here. Something was in the water around me. Hands grabbed me by the legs and began dragging me downward. I was amazed to even discover I had limbs. They felt so alien to me that it was almost as though my body was not my own. Lights flashed from the scythe. Then again, the Reaper's hands let go, and the howling rose once more. The Reaper was fighting something, although I couldn't make any sense of the battle except for the madness of thrashing water. The howling earth reached its crescendo, and the screams made the water around me convulse and contract like living fluid. Had the Reaper cut it? Was I safe? I began to explore my new body in the water, but just when I thought that I was beginning to gain control, the hands clutched me once more. I lurched downward, struggling in vain against their implacable grip. What is here? I tried to shout against the suffocating liquid. What is happening? But I couldn't sense the Reaper's presence any longer. The heat was unbearable. But the cold depths of the hands were dragging me toward even worse. I became aware of a blinding light at the bottom of the lake. And though I struggled, the hands dragged me The hands dragged me onward. I'm sorry, I couldn't fight it off. It seemed to be coming from so far away now. We will try again next time. The pressure, the heat, the noise, the hands dragging me into the blinding light. I closed my eyes and screamed. I was free from the water now, but I just kept screaming. I couldn't bear to look at it. Whatever had stolen me, whatever was death, but wasn't. Whatever even the Reaper could not defeat. Then words spoke. Real human words from a real human mouth. My senses were so distraught that I couldn't make sense of them. But I'm guessing they were something like, "Congratulations, he's a healthy baby boy."
Oh, wow.
Most people can't remember that day, the day that they die or the day that they were born. I happen to remember both, and I know that they are the same. Oh.
Oh, no, what a twist.
What a twist. So it's a story about death and reincarnation.
Oh, wow.
Pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah.
All right. That's a nice thought. Reincarnation.
It is. That's something. It is.
All right, just a minute, guys. Whoa. Okay. All right. So I think I got one more no sleep to read. And then we're going to go on to something else.
Okay.
Give me just a moment. Okay. So this one, it's very popular. I've seen a lot of people reading this one, but I've never read it myself. It's a series. It's a series that I have yet to read myself. Give me just a moment. Before I read that one, I'm gonna have you read some 2-minute horror stories.
I'm not reading them without you, man.
Why?
Because I want you to hear them too. That's so scary.
It is.
I'm not being in this room by myself and reading scary. You know I'm a chicken. You know them. The stories, reading them, they get me.
Okay.
I might be all quiet, but I'll be panicking inside later.
Okay. All right. So give us just a minute, guys. We're gonna take a quick bathroom break, and we will be back with another no sleep. So give me just a moment, guys. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry about that. The dog, my dog was also whining. He needed to go out. So we live on a we live outside of the city. We live pretty much on
In the hills.
Yeah, pretty much in the hills. So we can just let our dogs roam.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just kind of.
And they come back home. They know where they live.
Oh yeah.
They know what their house is.
They don't leave the yard. I mean, we
No.
don't need a fence or anything like that.
Yeah.
There.
And you'll probably hear him in the background barking to come in because he'll let you know.
Yeah. So,
He's finally learned how to bark to let to let you know he's out there.
yeah, he's still a little bit of a pup, so it took a little while to.
Yeah, I think he's in them teenage years of dogs. Though.
He is. I noticed he's been looking at me a little differently, like he's been wanting to kick my ass here lately. So yeah, I think
I love him.
I think he's definitely into those teenage years.
He's a little tiny dog. He's a Chihuahua, and he looks
He's
just like a.
He's not a Chihuahua.
He's part Chihuahua. Yes, he is.
He's part Chihuahua, but he's also part Feist.
Is that what Trix was? Chihuahua?
Yeah,
Feist?
Trix was a Feist.
And she, but he looks like a little Doberman Pinscher.
He does. He looks.
And he's got
exactly
the longest legs, and his name's Thor.
Yeah, Thor.
And he protects the house.
He's a good boy. He's a good boy. But I would prefer a cat.
Yeah, I know, but I love him. He's a good doggy.
He is.
I always tell him he's my little main man.
I would classify him as a good boy.
He is. He's a good boy.
All right, so here we go. This is the last No Sleep that we've got, and like I said, it's pretty popular. So I'm sure most of you have already heard it. I've not read the entire series. I've only read the first one, which I'm gonna start with the first one, even though I've read it, just because it is something that I would like to read the whole series of. Mm-hmm. So I figured we would start one tonight, probably do part 1 tonight, and do part 2 next Saturday. Kind of keep it a going thing.
Yeah, like a main story.
Yeah. So this is I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service, and I have some stories to tell.
A forest?
Yeah, Forest
Ooh.
Service. Yeah.
Let's go. Let's get it.
So this is part 1.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure where else to post these stories, so I figured I'd share them here. I've been a SAR officer for a few years now, and along the way I've seen some things that I think you guys will be interested in. I have a pretty good track record for finding missing people. Most of the time, they just wander off the path or slip down a small cliff and they can't find their way back. The majority of them have heard the old stay where you are thing, and they don't wander far. But I've had 2 cases where that didn't happen. Both bother me a lot, and I use them as motivations to search even harder on the missing persons cases that I get called on. The first was a little boy who was out berry picking with his parents. He and his sister were together, and both of them went missing around the same time. Their parents lost sight of them for a few seconds, and in that time both of the kids apparently wandered off. When their parents couldn't find them, they called us, and we came out to search the area. We found the daughter pretty quickly, and when we asked where her brother was, she told us that he'd been taken away by the bear man. She said he gave her his berries, and told her to stay quiet, that he wanted to play with her brother for a while.
Oh no.
The last she saw of her brother, he was riding on the shoulders of the bear man, and seemed calm. Of course, our first thought was abduction, but we never found a trace of another human being out in that area. The little girl was also insistent that he was not a normal man, but that he was tall and covered in hair like a bear, and that he had a weird face. We searched the area for weeks. It was one of the longest calls I've ever been on, but we never found a single trace of that kid. The other was a young woman who was out hiking with her mom and grandpa. According to the mother, her daughter had climbed up a tree to get a better view of the forest, and she never came back down. They waited at the base of the tree for hours, calling her name, before they called for help again. We searched everywhere, and we never found a trace of her. I have no idea where she could have possibly have gone, but neither her mother nor her grandpa saw her come down. A few times I've been out on my own searching with a canine, and they've tried to lead me straight off of cliffs, not hills, not even rock faces. Straight, sheer cliffs with no possible handholds. It's always baffling, and in those cases we usually find the person on the other side of the cliff, or miles away from where the canine has led us. I'm sure there's an explanation, but it's sort of strange. One particularly sad case involved the recovery of a body. A 9-year-old girl fell down an embankment and got impaled on a dead tree at the base. It was a complete freak accident, but I'll never forget the sound her mother made when we told her that what had happened. She saw the body bag being loaded into the ambulance, and she let out the most haunting, heartbroken wail I've ever heard. It was like her whole life was crashing down around her, and a part of her had died with her daughter. I heard from another SAR officer that she killed herself a few weeks later. She couldn't live with the loss of her daughter. I was teamed up with another SAR officer because we'd received reports of bears in the area. We were looking for a guy who hadn't come home from a climbing trip when he was supposed to, and we ended up having to do some serious climbing to get to where we figured he'd be. We found him trapped in a small crevice with a broken leg. It was not pleasant. He'd been there for almost 2 days and his leg was very obviously infected. We were able to get him into a chopper, and I heard from one of the EMTs that the guy was absolutely inconsolable. He kept talking about how he'd been doing fine, and when he'd gotten to the top, a man had been there. He said the man had no climbing equipment, and he was wearing a parka and ski pants. He walked up to the guy, and when the guy turned around, he said he had no face. It was just blank. He freaked out and ended up trying to get off the mountain too fast, which is why he'd fallen. He said he could hear the guy all night, climbing down the mountain and letting out these horrible muffled screams. That story bothered the hell out of me. I'm glad I wasn't there to hear it. One of the scariest things I've ever had happen to me involved in the search of a young woman who'd gotten separated from her hiking group. We were out until late at night because the dogs... Just a second. We were out until late at night because the dogs had picked up her scent. When we found her, she was curled up under a large rotted log. She was missing her shoes and pack, and she was clearly in shock. She didn't have any injuries, and we were able to get her to walk with us to the base. Along the way, she kept looking behind us and asking why that big man with black eyes was following us. We couldn't see anyone, so we just wrote it off as some weird symptom of shock. But the closer that we got to the base, the more agitated this woman got. She kept asking me to tell him to stop making faces at her. At one point, she stopped and turned around and started yelling into the forest, saying that she wanted him to leave her alone. She wasn't going to go with him. She said that she wouldn't give us to him. We finally got her to keep moving, but we started hearing these weird noises coming from all around us. It was almost like coughing, but more rhythmic and deeper. It was almost insect-like. I don't really know how else to describe it. When we were within the side of the base hops, the woman turns to me, and her eyes about as wide as I can imagine a human could open them. She touches my shoulder and said, "He says to tell you to speed up. He doesn't like looking at that scar on the back of your neck." I have a very small scar on the base of my neck, but it's mostly hidden under my collar, and I have no idea how this woman saw it. Right after she says it, I hear that weird coughing right in my ear, and I just about jumped out of my skin. I hustled her to the ops, trying not to show how freaked out I was, but I have to say I was really happy when we left the area that night. The last one that I'll tell, and it's probably the weirdest story I have. Now I don't know if this is true in every SAR unit, but in mine, it's sort of an unspoken regular thing we run into. You can try asking about it with other SAR officers, but even if they know what you're talking about, they probably won't say much about it. We've been told not to talk about it by our superiors, and at this point, we've all gotten used to it, so it doesn't even seem weird anymore. On just about every case where we're really far into the wilderness, I'm talking 30 or 40 miles, at some point we'll find a staircase in the middle of the woods. It's almost like if you took the stairs in your house, cut them out, and put them in the forest. I asked about it the first time I saw some, and the other officer just told me not to worry about it, that it was normal. Everyone I asked said the same thing. I wanted to go check them out, but I was told very emphatically that if I should ever go near any of them, that I should never go near any of them. I just sort of ignore them now when I run into them because it happens so frequently. I have a lot more stories, and I suppose if anyone's interested, I'll tell some of them tomorrow. If anyone has any theories about the stairs, or if you've seen them too, let me know.
Like, the forest is just a scary place. You know it is.
Oh, yeah.
What made me, Blair Witch was what made me so terrified of the forest of the night. But hearing scary stories of, like, the wilderness and what could be in there, and
Yeah, because, I mean, it's not the it's not the forest that's scary. It's what could be in the forest.
what could be in it.
Because we know so little about the forest.
Oh, jeez, calm down.
Sorry. We know so little about the forest themselves. Like, there's... What was it? The silverback gorilla was just found to be... No, it wasn't silverback. It was something... some type of new monkey or gorilla was just found to actually exist, like, within the last 120, 130 years. So, yeah, it's untelling what's actually out there.
Yeah.
There's so many things that could just be lurking in the woods.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a little... The woods are a little scary.
It is. It is.
And like you said, you know, the Blair Witch and all of these other found footage movies, they don't make it any better.
They don't make it.
They definitely
much
play
better.
on those fears. And it's an easy fear to prey on.
It is.
You ever been lost in the woods?
No.
I have.
I've been lost in a cornfield. I have been lost in one of those. It was a big one.
Really?
Yes, and it's terrifying.
I would say it is. I would say that's extremely terrifying.
Like, I've been, like, the big amusement park that's not that far from where we are. Like, during Halloween time, they have a huge, scary forest maze, and it is so good. And I mean, that's the most I've ever been in the dark in the forest.
Really?
My brother and me, we went up to the behind my house, my mom's house. There's a trail up to where behind our house that we used to walk up all the time. We used to go back there. Beautiful place. Mm-hmm. And because we just love being in the woods. Yeah. And it was me, him, one of his old girlfriends a long time ago, and we just had watched Blair Witch not long before. Then we was up there just goofing around, you know, because we loved walking in the woods because it was so pretty. You'd find little Babylon brooks. You'd find all kinds of crap up there. Very pretty stuff, you know. And we was up there and we was all goofing off, and, you know, and next thing you know, it starts getting dark.
Yeah.
And we start freaking ourselves out, and we just run through the woods trying to get home. Sliding down the hill, we didn't care. We hustled home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would say being lost in the woods is... I've been lost on 3 occasions. They were all when I was younger. 2 of those were in the woods. So the first time, I was visiting some family. I lived in a northern state at the time, and I was visiting some family down south.
Yeah.
And I was probably... I would say I was probably 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Maybe younger. I was younger. I was probably 7, actually. And they asked me if I'd ever been snipe hunting. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what snipe hunting was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you ever go to a southern state and they ask you if you've ever been snipe hunting, don't fucking go.
Nope.
That shit.
That's a big no-no.
It is a cruel joke.
It is.
Basically what they do is they take you into the woods and they'll find a long tree, and that's laid down. That's a dead old tree on the ground, And well, this was my experience with it. So they found a long tree laying on the ground, and they told me to get at one end of it and hold a bag.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're holding the bag, they tell you, keep looking in the tree. Keep looking in the tree and wait, and it'll come out, and you want to catch it in the bag. It's a snipe. It's a snipe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So while you're looking in the tree or doing whatever you're doing that they have you paying attention to, they will leave your ass in the woods.
Yes.
Yeah, this was about 10 o'clock at night, in the dark, in the woods. I was from a northern state. I've never been in the woods much.
Yeah.
And they fucking left me there. And like I said, I was like 7.
Yep.
But luckily, yeah, I knew not to leave. I knew not to go far because they'd be back. And they did.
Oh,
They
yeah.
came back for me like an hour later. But think, a 7-year-old in the woods at dark by yourself.
Yep.
I was scared to death. I didn't go back into the woods until I got, older, like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
And that's when I got lost in the woods again. But that was on my own. That was my own fault. You see, what had happened was we were, and this was in the daytime, broad daylight. So I wasn't as scared. Like I said, I was probably 13, 14, and at this point in time, I had moved from up north and to a more southern state, and my dad was from the woods. He's lived in the woods his entire life. Like he is
God, yeah.
he is a real fucking Paul Bunyan. Like
He's a wild mountain medicine man.
he's a wild mountain medicine man. He really is. And so he digs what they call ginseng.
Mm-hmm.
Ginseng is used for a lot of different things, but you can, around in southern states, you can dig it and you can sell it for quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
So I was going with him ginsenging, and he moves through the mountains so fucking fast.
He glides. He's like a sugar glider.
He glides through the mountains, and for someone who's not used to going in the mountains, you will tire out very fucking quickly.
Yeah.
So we were there for probably 2, maybe 3 hours, and I was just wore out, and I was like, okay, I'm going back home. You can hunt here all day if you want, but I'm fucking going home. And he was like, yeah. He's like, you know your way back, don't you? And I was like, yeah, of course I do. Which I didn't. And what ended up happening was it had rained about the day before. It had rained the day before, and I was coming down off of the mountain, and I had it went from kind of being level to completely downhill. So, and then when it came completely downhill, it went to a sheer drop off, like 20 feet. Like it was high, and I came to the drop off, and I was like, I threw, because I had a stick with me to kind of help me navigate a little bit
your way
better.
through. I got a stick. Don't worry.
No, I mean it was for like usually if you're walking uphill really steep, you can use a stick to kind of.
Oh yeah, I know.
I
know. I went in the woods quite a bit.
Yeah, I know, but so I had a stick, so I threw the stick down just to see how long it took to hit the ground, and it took.
You got one of them high walls.
Yeah, it was a high wall.
Oh.
It took way too long to hit the ground, so I was like, "Fuck that," because I thought, I can jump down, and I'll be fine.
No.
And then, because I knew, because it led to the road that I knew would take me home.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I can just jump it. I'll just jump off and I'll be fine. Like I said, when I threw my stick down, I knew right then, like, that's way too fucking high. If I jump from here, I'm gonna break something. So I tried to climb back up.
And you threw your stick.
Well, yeah. Well, I had threw my stick. So
you threw your stick. You needed it.
And like I said, it had been raining the day before.
Oh.
And it was really steep. So when I tried to climb back
leaves
up,
got wet.
yeah, the leaves were wet. The ground was mud. When I tried to climb back up, I slipped. And when I slipped, I went right on my ass and flew off the fucking high wall.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I fell about 20 feet. And luckily, it was all mud at the bottom, too.
Oh.
So I didn't break anything. It fucking hurt. It took me about 10 minutes to finally get standing again.
Oh, my God.
Because it knocked the wind out of me. But yeah, I got up and I just kind of wobbled my way home.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some 2-sentence horror stories that we're going to read now.
Yeah.
So let's get it started. I used to hate the sounds of crickets outside the lonely farmhouse. Now every time they go silent, I know that thing is passing by, and I pray for them to chirp again.
Oh shit.
Oh man, I gave me cold chills. If I knew something was passing by my window by chirping of that, I would leave. I would leave. You wouldn't see me again.
Yeah, I mean, fuck that.
I mean, does the crickets get scared too? I mean, do they get so scared? They're like, he won't see us if we be quiet.
Yeah,
Ooh, it's scary.
that's a good one.
That is scary. All right.
All right, give us another one.
Okay, give me just a minute. I don't. You gotta give me a minute, man. I messed up my spot. Sorry, guys.
Are you good?
I do that sometimes. He has to help me.
All right. Let's see.
Did I mess it up?
No, you just
Okay.
and then
All right.
you got it. You got
Okay.
it.
All right, here we go. Oh, I don't want to read that one. That one. Okay, give me just a minute,
Is
guys.
that one bad? Is it scary? Or is it just bad?
It's just bad.
It's just
Like,
bad.
I don't want
Okay.
to read it.
All right, go to the next one.
Okay. All right. Little Timmy was having fun in the fairgrounds halls of mirrors until he warped reflection crawled out of the mirrors toward him.
Oh.
Oh, snap.
Oh, warped reflection.
That's like one of my biggest fears because of Candyman. Like when we done the tier video,
Yeah.
Candyman scared me so bad that I still hate mirrors. When I go to a mirror and it's pitch dark, I hate looking at it because I'm afraid something's going to pop out at me, especially Candyman.
And here's my take on that I don't like mirrors either. Is we have so many mirrors in our house.
I know.
And,
I don't know why, but we do.
And 9 times out of 10, you're in bed before I am,
I know.
and the lights are fucking out, and I'm sitting here having to walk past all these mirrors. I'm like, something's gonna be behind me.
I know it scares
Something-
me every time because you don't
Like,
know what's going to
don't
happen.
look at these fucking mirrors, man.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, give us another one.
All right. It's true what they say. Death is not the end. But as I lay rotten in my grave, I really wish it were.
Oh, shit. So there's some truth to that. Like there's
Oh.
back they used to make graves that were that had some way of alerting the people outside that you were still alive,
Mm-hmm.
because there were so many they thought that they were dead but they were just in a coma, so they buried them
Yeah.
and they woke up buried. I don't know how. I think I remember some story, I don't remember if it's true or not,
Yeah.
that they ended up digging up some type of grave and there was like scratch marks on the side of it and shit like that, so that's why they ended up making some type of system to where
Oh, yeah, they put the pipes down the ground. You can still see them in some of the graveyards here.
yeah, they put the pipes
Yeah.
down in the ground, or they put a
Put a
string in
bell.
there with a bell. Yeah,
Something to let you know if you... Because they are such a... it's some kind of like health issue that... what is it called that does that to people that makes them quit breathing like they have no pulse? It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it happens to people every day. It happens to people a lot.
yeah. But I mean, now we have
Systems of knowing.
yeah, they can monitor
Yeah.
your brain waves and all kinds of different shit
Yeah.
that can let you know, hey, this person's still fucking
They're
alive.
alive. It's just this, this.
Pufferfish. Pufferfish can
Oh,
make you
yes.
do that. If you eat pufferfish that hasn't been prepared correctly, it can cause
It can cause
paralysis and
paralysis.
shit like that. So yeah, give us another one.
All right. Every night, my grandfather waits for me in my bedroom. He's been dead for years, but the memory of what he did never leaves. Oh, that was not what I was. That was not a story that I thought it. I thought it'd be something.
Oh, what did he do?
I don't know.
Damn, that's the one you chose.
I didn't mean to.
Thought you was skipping the bad ones, man.
I gotta read this one.
Okay,
This one's mean.
Let's hear it.
Wow. Our dairy farm still prints photos of missing children on all our milk cartons. It's educational for consumers to know what each dairy cow was fed. Really?
They're just out here feeding children to dairy cows.
Really?
That's nice.
Okay. I don't know what we're on. This is just not right.
We're on Reddit, man. That's the kind of shit they got on Reddit.
I know.
What you got?
That one was bad too. My gosh, come on, I want some scary ones, not sad ones.
I mean, a lot of them, sad, scary. So.
Oh Jesus! Hold on, I'm looking. I'm trying to find some good ones because I don't want to. I like the good ones, man. The ones that would send like the thing about the crickets. That stuff right there scares me.
That was a good one. All right.
Okay.
We'll give us 3 more.
Give us 3 more. Okay.
Give us 3 more.
Okay, right here.
Come on, man, share it with us. I'd like to laugh.
I woke up at 3 a.m. after hearing the front door slam shut. I watched in horror as my 5-year-old baby ran out to the ice cream truck passing by.
What?
These ain't scary.
Holy shit! At 5 a.m. or 3 a.m. What time was it?
3 a.m.
Oh wow. That's pretty creepy though.
No, it's not.
Ice cream truck at 3 a.m. Man, fuck that.
No, all I can see is a little fat baby running out there to get some ice cream. Mama, give me some money.
Yeah. All right, let's hear it.
I can't find that.
Just read us one.
Just read you one?
Yeah, just read us one.
Okay, let me find
Pick one and read it. Random. Come on.
I heard a gentle scratching at my bedroom door and assumed my cat wanted in. I really wish I had seen her on my bed before I was pulled out of the door I just opened.
Oh.
Oh, Jesus.
That's scary.
That's a little. If I open the door, like if I hear something, you know me. If I hear something anywhere,
You don't even open doors.
No,
I'll
tell you.
You
I'll
tell
tell
me
you,
to open
honey,
doors.
you hear that? Go see what it is. Like I won't even get up. I won't even try to get up. I'll just stay in here, huddled in the corner on the bed, waiting for him to come back.
At some point, you're gonna be doing this whole thing all by yourself because you told me to go open a door and got my ass killed.
Yeah.
Because that's how it is. Which I guess that's what I signed up for. But yeah.
Oh.
If there's a door open and she's scared, hey, go close the door. I'm like, shit. Okay, I'm going.
Yeah, every time because I won't do it. All right, here we go.
You send me into the darkness.
Yeah, I send you. No.
All right, you got us one more or 2 more.
Okay, give me just a second. I'm trying to find another one. Okay, right here we go. We got another one. The ghostly silhouette of my brother seemed to stare down at me from my own bedroom window. I thought it was him warning me to stay away, but later I learned from the police that it was just where my mother had stuck his head.
Damn.
Wow.
That's brutal.
Oh, that's so scary.
Yeah, that's brutal, man.
Like,
wow.
They said, there's this community college where we're from that's, right in our little small town outside where we live. And, back in grade school, one of our, student teachers who was, being an apprentice, trying to learn, learn the ropes and stuff, he was there. It was around spooky time, and we was all in school, and we asked him if he had any ghost stories, because we was wanting to know, him being in college and us all here, the college that, was right there. We kept asking him, you got any ghost stories? We've heard that it was haunted. We wanted to see it. We wanted to hear about it, and he told us the story about, there was a student who I think she it's a sad subject, but I think she had killed herself. She hung herself in like a like the attic part of the school or something like that. And he said that they was giving like a ghost tour or some kind of haunted tour around the school, and he was helping. And he said that the light was off, and as they were walking around, you know, they was talking about things. They was talking about the stuff that they've had happen there in certain dorms and, you know, in certain classrooms. And the story that he told us was that that they was doing the ghost tour, and they noticed that the light was on, and they went up there to turn it back off, and they said in the silhouette of the window that's in the main top up there, you could see her figure, because it was nighttime. And because they done their tours, you know, about 6, 7 o'clock, they'd start them then, they'd end them about 8 or 9. And he said it was late, and he said you could see the figure of her. And he said it was just the most scariest thing, and he ran away. He said they've had numerous, you know, haunting sightings there and, you know, hearsay and stuff, but I remember that story sticking with me. I can remember that from like 5th grade.
Yeah.
It was just a story that stuck to me, you know, knowing that, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure it would.
But, all right.
All right. This is the last one.
So it turns out you can feel everything that happens to your body after death. I suppose I should be flattered my husband still finds me attractive after all those years. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God, that's horrible.
Oh, that's good.
None of these was scary. I don't like them.
All right. So, basically, so this is supposed to be an hour long. We're running over right now. Mm-hmm. We're at an hour and 7.
Okay, well, I'm gonna read some of these urban legends from different states.
We'll do that next weekend.
You sure?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, apparently, every state has its own folklore.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we've got the list here.
Yeah, stay tuned in for the Boggy Creek Monster from Arkansas.
No shit?
That's what it's called.
Oh, wow. Damn.
Wait, we'll tell you about this urban legend next weekend.
Yeah, next weekend. But we did promise one thing on our stream, that we would talk about our ghost experiences. Or our paranormal experiences.
I'm so scared.
Because we do have a couple.
I got a few, some good ones.
So, you get to lead us off.
Okay.
Let's hear yours first.
All right. This happened when me and my husband first got married.
Yep.
We was freshly married, and we was laying in bed one night, and, you know, we went to bed, and we always kept our window open. We kept it open because it just stayed so cool, and where we live at, nobody bothers you, nobody, you know, we do got neighbors, and we're all family.
Well, our neighbors are...
We're all family. All through here is nothing but family.
The only neighbors that we have that's not family are probably miles away.
Yeah, miles away from us. So you can leave your windows open. A lot of people does. They leave their windows open. And we left it open, you know, one night to get, you know, the fresh air, the coolness. And it was around this time of year. It was around October. And I remember vaguely seeing... I remember waking up in the middle of the night, something. I just woke up. And I remember staring off into a corner of our room. And I could see a man standing there. I couldn't see his face. I could see from the neck down. I could tell he was wearing a gray shirt, pair of blue jeans, real skinny, tall guy. And I remember I done the things that you see like in the movies. You know, you close your eyes, you shake your head, you try, and it wouldn't work. He still stood there. And I remember shaking you to death, saying, get up, please get up, please. And he was sleeping so hard. And I was just like, please get up, please get up. And finally, I closed my eyes, and he finally moved and got up. And I was like, oh my God, now you get up. And it's gone. And we don't sleep with our window open no more. Because anytime we have to sleep with our window open, something weird has happened. Yeah. So we keep it shut. And that's just me. I mean, I might sound crazy to some, but other people I might, you know, make them be like, oh, hey, I believe you too, because I thought I was crazy. No, some people's got their own, you know, preference. And
yeah,
I don't sleep with the window open no more. No, after experiencing more than just that, I don't.
Yeah. So, yeah, we've had
multiple
paranormal experiences. Mm. And we've been together for all of them.
Yeah, every one of them we've been together. Except a few that I've had when I was younger, but that's about it.
Yeah, but I have never experienced any paranormal activity until after we got together.
Yeah.
So maybe it's you.
No. Okay.
Maybe there's a
Okay.
ghost attached to
But
you.
what's weird? Don't say that. Do not put that bad juju. Power of Christ compels you.
That's the
Don't
only.
you
That's,
do
that's,
that.
that's the only paranormal story that we're gonna tell tonight.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I had some good other ones.
Oh, I've got some good ones.
I'm telling you guys, it was real. I seen him standing in this room. I seen him plain as day, standing there, and it terrified me to where I don't sleep with the window no more. I don't sleep with it open.
Yeah.
I keep it shut,
So
locked.
at the end of each of these episodes, we will tell one paranormal event that has happened to us.
All right, the next time you get to them, Big Daddy.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell the next one. But all right, guys. So we're gonna move everything over to Twitch.
And start playing some. What are we playing?
Let's play some Phasmophobia.
Let's get some spookiness.
So yeah, which Phasmophobia is our go-to game. If you've not got on our Twitch, check it out. It's the same thing. Shorty and the Long Bottoms.
Yep.
On Twitch, and yeah, we're gonna be over there, and probably the next 10 minutes, we'll be playing some Phasmophobia. So
And hey, we might start looking up some creepy Easter eggs on certain games if we can. We'll be doing other spooky stuff than just the podcast and Phasmophobia. We're going to do other things.
yeah, so GTA has some good ones.
So does Red Dead does
Red
too.
Dead. Yeah, Red Dead's got some
Red
really
Dead's got
good
some
ones.
really good ones.
So yeah, we might start looking up some creepy Easter eggs in games too. If you guys got anything that you would like to see us play, let us know down in the comments. Join our Twitch.
Yep.
Come over on our Twitch, join us, let us know. But that's all for the Witching Hour, guys. Until next time.
Stay spooky.